Howdy, folks. I'm Brian.
I'm Amber.
What are you doing here? This is a Thursday. Go, go.
She told me I could join you.
I'm just kidding. I did tell her she could join me. And here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I the Jerk for Refusing to Refund My Parents After They Spent Over $2,000 to Come to My Wedding? I'm a 25-year-old female, and I've never been on good terms with my parents since my mother, 45-year-old female, has a princess complex that my father, a 50-year-old male, has no trouble condoning. Ever since I was a child, I had to make my happy moments about my mother because she gave me the gift of life. I had to get her presents on my birthday, my graduations, most of my amazing moments in life, and when my college letter came, my father congratulated my mother instead of me and took her to celebrate. He showered her with gifts for the accomplishments that I did, and I only got a "good job, baby" every single time. Good job. Not only that, my mother was obsessed with the men that I dated. She's a young looking and has taken care of herself all these years. This has caused people to believe that we're sisters instead of mother-daughters and can't stand that anyone prefers me over her. Some of my boyfriends have broken up with me since they realized that they were in love with my mother. I don't know if she had cheated on my father with them or what, and at this point, I don't care. When I left for college, I went low contact and just did the bare minimum, so they kept paying for my expenses. I know that's bad, but meh. At some point, I met my now husband, Alan, a 26-year-old male, and I was first reluctant to introduce him to my parents since I thought I knew how it was going to end. It took me 2 years to finally take him home, and I don't know if it was all the things I told them or just luck, but Alan never gave her a second look and did the bare minimum too. Obviously, this made my mom mad when I was 24 after Alan proposed to me. I went no contact with him after a fight because Alan had the audacity not to get her something on a day so special for her. Planning the wedding made me sad. It made me realize that all these years I waited for them to change, and as naive I was, I thought that my wedding could be one last chance. I called them a few months before, told them that I would love if my father walked me down the altar, and even offered to pay for their flights here and all of their expenses, but I just asked them to please send me a photo of their outfits before they came because I know how my mother is. They fought this at first and called me disrespectful and all of that, but they ended up accepting. They did it, and my mom had a bluish/purple dress. Nothing so weird, so I said yes. But when they arrived, she was wearing a long white dress, very bridal looking, and I just couldn't. I asked them to leave, and after Alan threatened to call the police on them, they did. After the party, they sent me receipts of their flights, my mother's dress, and the hotel. I replied with an F you, and I told them that since they tricked me into thinking that my mother had another dress, I won't be paying them back.
So much not the jerk here, OP.
Well, this is a really hard situation. I think that OP isn't the jerk. I want to clarify that first. And the thing is, she did promise to pay for their flight, and I don't know if she promised to pay for the hotel. I don't know if she promised to pay for the dress, but the way they handled the situation, her parents, I think, was extremely poor.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it was on the condition that her mom not wear a wedding dress. And what does her mom do? She shows up in a wedding dress. So she violated any claim she had when she showed up in a wedding dress. She knew that was not what OP wanted. She sent a picture of a fake decoy dress instead.
And the question is, why did she do this? Well, I mean, other than the fact that she's a narcissist.
Well, that's it. That's all it boils down to, is that she's a narcissist. Every single one of OP's accomplishments becomes hers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a bad situation for poor OP. I mean, I feel like OP's really got the short end of the stick here. They really have a bad family situation. And now, I think this is probably going to be, hopefully, the thing that buries, that cuts off the relationship permanently, because she doesn't need this kind of stuff in her life.
No, certainly not. And that's a really hard, frustrating thing. I mean, I certainly have not experienced this to the extent that OP has, but I have experienced a narcissistic parent who kind of like treats my accomplishments like their own.
Yeah.
And like, it's no fun because like you work really hard for something and they're like, look, I gave birth to this person, so this is basically my PhD. Yeah. And it's like, no, you did not write that dissertation. You did not spend all these years like grueling away, you know, and like.
Yeah, but didn't they?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm very sure.
Maybe just a smidge. Probably it's mostly hers accomplishment. And her was like, after the camera goes away, I'm going to... She didn't even wait for the camera to go away. No. She's just going to murder me right straight up in front of you folks. Don't worry, with my last dying breath, I'll edit this video so that you can witness the life drain away from me.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for not quitting my job over my colleague's crush? I'm a 32-year-old female, and I live with my partner who's a 44-year-old male, and I work in research. My primary colleague is a 30-year-old male, and he and I have worked together for about 2 years on a major project involving significant intellectual and labor contributions from both of us. The project is expected to span at least another 2 years, and is vital to both of our careers. Not long ago, my colleague confessed to me that he is, and has been, infatuated or in love with me for pretty much the duration. It took place via a long email that was written after an evening of drinking. This was totally unexpected. In retrospect, there may have been some signs, but nothing that wasn't just as easily be accounted for by a considerate personality. Shortly after this confession, I came to my husband with the issue. I wanted to get his advice about the situation, and I showed him the drafts which I'd composed to organize my thoughts on the matter. They stated unequivocally that I'm not interested in a romantic relationship and hope these feelings won't complicate our work together. I was again surprised at my husband's reaction. He seemed offended to think that I must have invited my colleague's affections and that I should immediately quit my job, as in, put in notice tomorrow. I was so taken aback, my immediate reaction was to laugh/snort at the suggestion, which was probably a mistake.
It wasn't.
That would be utterly disastrous to my career and isn't an option I'm willing to consider. I'd greatly prefer the entire scenario had never happened, as a difficult and lengthy project hangs in the balance, but I have no real concern at this point about my colleague forcing the issue or letting it compromise our work. It seemed like an intoxicated, getting my feelings off my chest. I'll need to put a lot of thought and caution into how I proceed with the work dynamic, but abandoning our project isn't even on the table. About a week passed. My husband has been alternating between irate and the silent treatment, and suggested several times that I should move out of the house to be with my new spouse. Today I swung by the house on my lunch break and found the locks changed and my luggage on the patio. I have been blocked on his work number and cell. Obviously, he cannot possibly intend for me to really move out and is just pulling what I absolutely believe to be a jerkish power sulk, but seeing how seriously he's taking this has my doubts up. Maybe I was ultimately too uncompromising when I refused to even entertain quitting my job for the sake of conversation and his feelings, and to shut the idea down so abruptly. Am I the jerk? Update. Hubby called me. Long story short, he's been extremely anxious each day when I leave for work, and buckled from the pressure today. I'm welcome back home once I've quit my job, which is obviously still unacceptable. I am considering taking a week of accrued paid leave, which will hopefully result in an adult conversation with the husband, as well as coming to a decision about how to best handle colleague. That failing, I'm hearing the word lawyer loud and clear throughout these comments. I'm grateful for all of the support and perspective. Update 2. I ended up calling my sister, a 38-year-old female, something I avoided initially because I didn't want to stir the pot by involving family members who are already disliked by husband. I'm currently with her and my cousin, a 35-year-old male, who are both supportive. Our plan is to call a locksmith tomorrow to regain access to the property. Husband can ruminate with friends or at a hotel for the present, for cousin to collect some important things of mine from the house, and for me to stay with my sister for a few days while I take a hard look at my situation and options. I'm not set on divorce at this point, but I definitely need to reassert some very basic boundaries before exploring further discussion with husband. Thank you, strangers on Reddit, for helping me emerge from the emotional haze with some clarity.
Oh, I think OP is probably totally the jerk in this situation.
No, she is not the jerk.
She brought this onto herself by being too flirtatious with her colleague.
No.
Of course her husband has every right to be mad at her.
No.
Why do you keep saying no?
Because she is so much not the jerk. He is so 100% the jerk here.
Yeah.
Like...
Who thinks this, though? On a serious note. Like, who's like... Oh, you brought this on yourself that your colleague likes you?
People with a very backward idea. Like, some people just always blame women. Like, oh, men can't be helped. It must clearly be something the woman did.
Yeah, I think that he's been looking for an excuse for her to leave her position for a long time. I think that he just doesn't really like what she does or something to that effect. And this is just an easy, convenient way.
It's possible. But it could also just be a jealousy thing. Like, he... hears this and immediately assumes, for some strange reason, that, oh, this must be an affair that's happening.
Yeah, but why would... Yeah, I mean, but from his perspective, like, why would he think it was an affair if she was, like, bringing this advice to him?
I know, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, this is clearly... I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
But, like, he's just, like, basically staking his claim on her. Like, you need to quit this job to prove your mind still, or something like that. It's very strange. Like... I get creepy guys who email me on Instagram, which isn't the same thing as a close colleague, but, like, still in the same ballpark, and I'll just tell Brian about them, and he'll very politely message them to be... Because I don't like messaging them myself.
Yeah. This isn't about me, like, stepping in, folks.
No. I'm just, like, very socially anxious, so I'll be like, hey, Brian, there's a creepy guy hitting on me on Instagram. Can you help? And he'll just be like... very politely tell him that I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, like, you need to quit Instagram and go live in a cave.
Yeah, well, my messages are usually like, thanks so much for taking interest in Amber. She's not actually interested in X, Y, or Z, so we do appreciate your enthusiasm for her Instagram account. But, you know, you're getting to be a little bit much for her or making her uncomfortable or something to that effect. Like, someone's asked her if she had an OnlyFans account, and I was like, well, thank you for your interest, but she doesn't.
Yeah.
And she doesn't open her emails from strange men because she's afraid of getting certain pictures that might be inappropriate for work.
Yeah, exactly. One of them sent me a video, and I was like, nope, no way am I opening this. Nope.
I was like, no,
that
videos.
Was the OnlyFans guy, and so I was like, nope, very much nope.
So, yeah, I mean, I just don't even get it from his perspective at all, because it's like, why be jealous over this kind of situation? All right, our next letter is titled, Am I the jerk for telling my stepmom that she has no rights to my baby? This was a fight that I had with my dad and stepmom, but my stepmom mostly. I'm a 17-year-old female, and I live with my boyfriend's family, and we have a baby together. I moved out because my stepmom was being overbearing and trying to convince me to let her take on the old school grandma role, where she watches my baby while my boyfriend and I go to school and work. She said that she never got to be a mom, but she could be an awesome full-time grandma. I said no, and she told me I had to let her because she's a grandma and she's the one who's physically here. I said I didn't technically need to do anything, and she sounded like she was looking to make up for the fact that she never got to win mom title from me, but wanted to be almost mom with her full-time grandma cap. My dad told me that she would be grandma though, and I said I would prioritize my baby knowing about my mom, telling them stories and sharing memories of her. At the time, we weren't aware that we were having a boy. That my stepmom would not be a priority for me. My stepmom started crying and then left. My dad told me it was cruel to make her feel unwanted and unimportant. It's months later, and I'm settled at my boyfriend's parents' house. They've been great. We do a majority of child duties, but they help out some. My boyfriend and I both go to school remotely, and will for the rest of the year, which works out great for us. But my stepmom is still desperate to get time with baby and wants to be a full-time grandma still. The other week, she called and offered to take him from 8 to 7 each day to give me time to focus on other stuff. I said no. She told me she has a right as a grandmother. I said she has no rights to my baby, which upset her even more. Am I the jerk? For context on our bad relationship, when my mom was sick and in the hospital, she insisted on going into her room with and asking her to stop visits with me because she didn't think it was healthy for an 11-year-old to be visiting a terminally ill parent. Then she was the reason I wasn't there when my mom died. So I first want to say I am sorry, OP, for your lost mother. I think that's a horrible situation, and it sounds like this has been a really traumatic time for you. And it sounds like your stepmom has really just pushed those boundaries pretty hard. And, I don't think OP's a jerk in this situation. She wants nothing to do with the stepmom, especially after what happened, with her mother. And honestly, I can't blame her.
Yeah.
Like, the stepmom was so concerned about being number one mom that she tried to erase OP's mom.
Yeah, exactly. And, an 11-year-old is old enough that they should be able to make the choice whether to visit a parent in the hospital or not.
Yeah, well, and to deny someone to be there with a dying family member is an absolutely horrible thing. And I mean, that just is horrible for closure. It's horrible for, farewells and those kinds of things. And it just is not a good situation. And I think that the stepmom was way out of line. And I don't know why the dad didn't step in here and, let her visit her mom.
Yeah, well, it sounds like he's probably just does what his wife says because he's backing her up here in this letter. And, unfortunately, sometimes parents just get so caught up with their new partner that they kind of don't notice when things aren't working for their kids. But, so even if she didn't have a reason, OP still would be within her right to say, oh, hey, this is my kid. You don't have a right to them. But I think the family history helps add another layer of, oh, my goodness, of course, you don't want this woman there.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, I think, you make up a great point here. Under normal circumstances, it's not, you can't force your way to be a grandma or anything like that, and you have no right or claim to babysitting a child here, and this woman just is completely out of touch. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Happy Friday.
Yes, I guess it is Happy Friday now.
Thank you to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
If you like this video, consider giving us a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, consider giving us a thumbs down. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all on Monday.
Bye!